You have to be open-minded to the possibilities that I can do this. Once you shut your mind down to the possibility that it can be achieved, there's no way it can happen. I started really realizing that when I started overcoming myself, I started getting around these real alpha males, these hard men. And I always put people way above me when I was growing up. Like, my God, they had to have a lot more than me to get to where they're at. And a lot of them did. But once you get around the best of the best of the best people, you can kind of start breaking them down and realizing, man, you're just as fucked up as me. Like we all have, but all you did was you hit it better. Your upbringing, your mom and dad, your society, the way you were raised, it hit it better than mine. You weren't the only black kid, or there was like 5 in a school. You know, I can't hide. Going through buds, I was the only black kid. You can't hide. But I started realizing, just because I look different than you, a lot of you motherfuckers can't hide either. So it started giving me courage through watching people that we all have a story. We all have a jacked up life in one way or another. Some of us don't have the guts to talk about it though. And that's where I found the guts to talk about mine. And that's where I started learning that life is one big psychological warfare that you play on yourself. You play on yourself, man. The most important conversation I ever had is with myself. And the shit I was telling myself was so fucked up, it was so wrong, it was so misguided. And other people start to write that dialogue for you also. And it starts to be what you say to yourself every single day. And I started creating a whole nother warfare, a whole nother battle started becoming. I was like, oh, hang on a second, Goggins. You have these tools. You have these tools. Your life was basically the perfect grounds for training for where you need to go in your life. All the beatings, all the bullying, all the, you going through learning disabilities, all the struggles, it was the absolute perfect training ground for you to go to where you need to go. And that's how I started looking at my life versus woe is me, poopy pants, kick a rock down the street mentality. It was, nah, God just hooked you right the fuck up. He hooked you right up, man, with the perfect place. You were training for the first 18, 19, 20, you were training for this stuff, man. You had the advantage of everybody else versus, my God, they're so above me. They came from a great family. Mom and dad love them. They didn't have to learn, they didn't stutter, they didn't struggle. No, man, your struggle is what made you who you are now. So I started flipping this into a whole different, I started being a master of what I was scared of. I was scared of my mind. And I became literally a master of that mind. And that's what from now on, it sets me apart from most people. I started diving into that. I used to look at my life from a different vantage point. And when you're in all the muck and you're just walking in muck and walking in muck and walking in muck, you don't see that if you look off to the fucking left of the muck, there's a sidewalk, brother. Get off of it. You have your head down looking in this muck. Once I saw the sidewalk, got the sidewalk, I got a little break. And I got a different vantage point. And then from the sidewalk, I found a cliff. Then I found a mountain. I got way up high on top of my life and looked back down on it and said, okay, I gotta figure this out, man. I'm not going anywhere. I'm starting to lie. So when you have a messed up foundation, I started lying about everything. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be accepted in some society of life, some social society. And I was like, man, this isn't the right way. I messed up here, I messed up here, I messed up everywhere. And so I realized the worst thing that happened to me is I lost myself. I never had myself, I never found myself. I had no self-esteem. So I knew through working out and through learning, it took a lot for me to learn also. I started finding self-esteem. Once I found that, that's when doors started opening up. I stopped caring about people, that what they thought, being judged. Wow, if I say this, if I started right now, are you gonna make fun of me? I stopped caring about that. And that's when my life started really changing for me, slowly but surely. People always say, my God, like, no, don't look at it like, I didn't care about losing weight. I didn't care about being the fastest person. I wasn't making the Olympics. I wasn't going to pros. I could barely read and write when I was a junior in high school. I wasn't going anywhere. I saw working out as a way for me to build calluses on my mind. I had to callous over the victim's mentality. So I watched these movies. I talked about Rocky last time I was on here. I always equated training to mental toughening. Like, it always looked brutal. People waking up early and doing all these things, and it looked horrible. I was like, wow, man, I gotta start doing that. Not to get better, bigger, and stronger, but that is what's gonna build me. That looks uncomfortable. That looks brutal. And getting up early, I don't wanna do that. So I made this long list of things I don't wanna do. And through that, I found myself. I started I'm like, you guys aren't doing this shit in high school. You guys are getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, running over here in this golf course. So I started seeing myself very differently than the average human being. I was like, hold on a second. I have something they don't have. And that's when I started to develop these things through working out. It was this great, never-ending work ethic. And through work ethic, I developed self-esteem. I watched a lot of movies, and I was really big into visualization. And I always equated working out to struggle. And I struggled my whole life, but I ran from it. So I started realizing, man, I gotta start facing the struggle, and I gotta be mentally strong for the struggle. So that's why I started coming up with like, I'm training for life. Mentally, I'm training for life. I'm not training for like, to lift 400 pounds. And I found out on my own pretty much, is that through discipline, through self-discipline, through repetition, through tons of repetition of the same thing that you don't want to do, and that's the key thing. Through repetition of things you don't want to do, you develop mental, like an armor for your mind. You start to armor your mind, because your mind's like, okay, we suffer every day. It's what we do. We do stuff that sucks every day. So then when the suck stuff comes, you're ready for it. And that's how I started coming up. I just started being very uncomfortable. And now it's like just a way of life. So I had this my whole life. I mean, I don't know if people believe in God or what. I don't care what you believe in. There's been this unrelenting voice in my head. We all have this voice. It's the right or wrong voice. And a lot of times that voice guides us into comfort. And my voice guided me into comfort a lot. But I had this other voice I heard my whole life saying, hey, motherfucker, what are you doing? Nah, man, we got to go over here. We got to go over here to that rock pile over in the fucking corner where nobody's at. That's where victory's at. We're over there in that corner. So this voice was giving me all these answers. I wasn't a real smart kid growing up, but I had this crazy voice in my head saying, over there is where the fucking answers are. And I didn't want to listen to it because over there was pain. Over there was me looking in the mirror. Over there was me being accountable for all these things that went through my life. Even though people put them on me, it's now mine to own. And I didn't want to go over there by myself, but I had to. And this voice was guiding me there. It's God, whatever you want to call it. But that's what it was in me. I was a character. I was trying to find myself through a character. I was making different hairstyles and sagging my pants, and I was off. Man. I was a clown. I was a clown. And I was like, this is not where you're supposed to be in life, man. And it's ugly when you look in that dirty mirror and you're trying to do a new hairstyle to go to school. I had a hairstyle one time where I shaved the top of my head. You know how old men had the hair like leaving their head?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to school with hair on the side of my head and in my back, and I shaved the whole top of my head. I went to school like that, and then I had like.
What did the kids say?
I don't remember what they said, but I was just a funny dude.
Right.
So that was my thing. I was the funny dude that came into school, like Criss Cross came out when I was in high school. So my pants were backwards. I said, I'm gonna have my pants backwards, sag down past my ass crack, shirt turned backwards with a toothbrush in my mouth with the reverse part. The reverse part is your head is shaved and you have some hair on top. Just a little piece of hair versus like a part through hair. The part was on a bald head. So it was just, I would sit at home, instead of studying, I would think about what can I do to impress the motherfucker at school?
Wow.
And that became my life. And it's a long road to hoe to get to the guy who says, now, you don't ever smile on any podcast. You look so serious. I look at that shit. I'm like, you motherfuckers have no idea who I am, where I've come from to get here today. I always fix the things on the surface. So if I couldn't read and write, I learned to read and write. I would always fix these things on the surface level. And so whenever something hard would raise its ugly head, I didn't have any kind of tools to handle it. Like, man, I thought I fixed this already, man. But no, I didn't go deep into the dungeon of my soul to say, okay, what is making you a quitter? What is making you a weak man? What is making you afraid? And so that's why I kept on quitting and going back to start, or not knowing how to get through hard times. And that's why I always tell people, I'm not a theorist. I didn't study, I didn't study a fucking book. I literally put myself in a fire repeatedly, like a sword. You put a sword in a fire repeatedly and repeatedly. If you keep on doing that, you're gonna get a nice sword. And then you keep on beating it. You gotta beat the shit out of it. And that's what I am.
Yeah.
I became that. I said, okay, we can't quit. We got to figure out why you are this pussy. Why are you this pussy, man? What is wrong with you? What's going on here? So I kept on putting the sword back in the daggone fire, and I just beat it harder. And I beat it harder. Before I knew it, I started realizing, all right, man, the brain is starting to get hard. The brain is starting to get hard. I'm no longer a theorist. I'm now a practitioner. I put it in hell. I dissected it while it's in hell, because you can't dissect anything in a normal environment. You can't dissect anything in 72-degree weather. You must put it in the fucking freezer and freeze the fuck out of it. And then you dissect it. Dissect it when it's miserable. Dissect the brain when all it's thinking about is, I need to get out of here, man. I want to get out of the fucking freezer. Open the door. And you said, nah, 5 more seconds, man. 5 more seconds in the freezer. And that's when you start to pick that brain apart. And that's what all this stuff did to me. I kept on putting myself back into the freezer or the fire and beating the shit out of myself, mentally and physically. Before I knew it, this is what happened. People think a lot of times about me that I'm angry. Oh my God, you sound so angry. You cuss so much. Oh my God, why you cuss so much? Why are you so crazy? If you read my book, I cannot explain my life by saying, hey, it was a Merry fucking Christmas, man. No, it wasn't. I want you to go there with me. I'm taking you there with me. I'm a storyteller. I want to take your ass down paradise. So the house I lived in Buffalo, New York, that I got my ass beat every day, funny. We lived on Paradise Road, and it was anything but fucking paradise. So I want you to go there with me. You want to learn from me? Let me take your ass home. Let me take you there. So that's the whole thing about it, man. We're scared to dive into our lives, what made us who we are. The beautiful people that we are. We're all jacked up in so many ways. That's the beauty of us. That's the beauty of me. I'm jacked up, but I figured out my own little process on how to get unjacked up and I'm not going to get the same, I'm not going to get the same way you're going to get there. You may get there by going point A to point B. I might go point C to D to E to F, but I'm going to be there the same way you are, just a little harder. That's how I train my brain. So it's just different. I'm a different thinker.